So I thought we'll start with this one. It just caught my eye in the poems by Kabir, translated by Tagore. So I'll just read it out and then we'll go through it and reflect. Kabir says, "O Sadhu, hear my deathless words. If you want your own good, examine and consider them well. You have estranged yourself from the Creator, of whom you have sprung. You have lost your reason and you have bought death. All doctrines and all teachings are sprung from him. From him they grow. Know this for certain and have no fear. Hear from me the tidings of this great truth. Whose name do you sing and on whom do you meditate? Oh, come forth from this entanglement. He dwells at the heart of all things. So why take refuge in empty desolation? If you place the Guru at a distance from you, it is but the distance that you honor. If indeed the Master be far away, then who is it else that is creating this world? When you think that he is not there here, then you wander further and further away and seek him in vain with tears. Where he is far off, there he is unattainable. Where he is near, he is very bliss. Lest his servant, Kabir says, lest his servant should suffer pain, he pervades him through and through. Know yourself then, O Kabir, for he is in you from head to foot. Sing with gladness and keep your seat unmoved within your heart." Maybe I can, 2 pages. Is this visible, Swapna?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe better like this. I think we can, since this is on this page itself, half of it, we can also take the other one for reflection. Chal hamsa va desh jahan, on the left hand. Oh my heart, let us go to that country. Because it's both of them are quite related. And on the right begins the next poem, which we were reading. So I think we can also take both, since it is on this page itself.
Yeah, they are very related. Actually, before thought it was all one, right?
Yeah. 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 So anything that comes to you, any few lines that resonate?
Yeah, actually, it's all very appropriate. It's like, that if you want your own good, then examine and consider them well, right? So this, if there's here my deathless words, something that's deathless is always of the divine. So, and this reminder, if you want your own good, it's amazing how if the mind or the vital are involved, then it isn't usually my own good in my experience. So exactly agree with that. And this, you have estranged yourself from the creator of whom you have sprung. And this, you have lost your reason, you have brought death. And I realize how when lost in my mind's stories or the vital from Sherabindo, then this loss of reason, I realize so often I'll put I'll literally put reason, it's not even present, the logic and reason, because the emotions of the vital, or especially if there's disruption or disharmony or some kind of stress, then it seems so loud, it seems much more weighted. So this, that you have lost your reason, you have brought death, it feels like so painful. It's like death. I think that's what maybe pointed to here, or how I relate. I also like this, the next bit about all doctrines and teachings are sprung from him. And from him they grow, know this for certain, and have no fear. I find so often there is that reassurance also from the mother about not having fear. And it's always, reassuring to be reminded that, because it's amazing how many times in a challenge I'll forget, or I seem to forget. I get apparent amnesia about no need to have fear, and that the divine, the mother, is always there. And yes, the rest as well, hear from the tidings of this great truth. And I always feel like this word tidings is something very celebratory and heralding something that is great, higher. And yes, again, whose name do you sing and on whom do you meditate? It's like caught in a challenge or drama, then absolutely forgotten that I'm not singing the Lord's name or the mother's name. I'm not meditating on them. It's somehow stuck in ego and ego's woes and sufferings, and come forth from this entanglement. Exactly. It's like it's hitting the nail on the head. It does feel like an entanglement, and feels very much like being caught in some trap or some underwater net. And so, this need to be singing or calling out and being with the divine. He dwells at the heart of all things, so I take refuge in empty desolation. Yeah, that's a line that's totally speaking to me, because it does feel very lonely and desolate at times. And it's been easy in the lonely moments to forget that he dwells at the heart of all things. And it's amazing the number of times I can be reminded of that, and obviously need to be reminded of that, because it's countless numbers of time this amnesia can happen. And in loneliness or desolation, it can feel very much like there is no divine, or in that moment feeling a lack of connection, a lack of ability to hear. So yeah, very heartwarming, and
Yeah.
again reassuring to be reminded that he dwells at the heart of all things.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. Reassuring too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that really tells us that we don't need to run away from any experience. So whatever experience I may be going through, that very experience itself becomes the path to him. That very experience, if it is entanglement, okay, what is entanglement telling me? What is my learning through the entanglement? So that very thing that I am trapped in, that very thing that I am going through, that itself becomes a ladder to move closer to myself. I think that's the beauty, that we don't need to run away from any situation. Although at times we do that, we do run away, and it may be appropriate in that moment to run away. But what can we run away from? Our mind always stays with us, so we cannot really run away, because here, everything is here. So even if I am like oceans apart from so-called disturbance, I have the disturbance in my head. So where am I away? So I think that's really very challenging, and kind of invoking us into adventure, spirit of adventure, that can you use whatever you are going through to find me, as if the Lord is playing Leela, the play is going on. And that's really very, very powerful. Yeah. He dwells at the heart of all things. So why take refuge in empty desolation? We don't have to seclude ourselves, although the seclusion may be a phase, may be necessary. But it's not that I will find the Lord only in seclusion when all the triggers are away. In the middle of the triggers, can I have the right stance in my heart? I think that's the challenge. And I think the word tidings that you elaborated upon, really very powerful, that very celebratory, the tidings of the great truth, as if all that is there is this great truth. And it's like, just the tidings are coming forward.
Yes, it's amazing how, like, this desolation piece, of like, even if you have estranged yourself from the creator, it's like in times of struggle or challenge, then it's like I'll push away or run away from sometimes meeting people, or feeling like I need to somehow hibernate, isolate, bury myself a little, almost wanting to be invisible. And this, what you just said, is like, oh, actually, even to show up in whatever meeting or arrangement, or just go out in the world, that right there with that other person is the creator, right? That the divine is in that other person, or in those people, or in life circumstances. And so in like you say, sometimes seclusion is needed, and life just gives it sometimes. But at other times, it's making me see that when I choose to somehow feel like I shouldn't, or I need to somehow be in a very positive place before I interact with people, that even that is estranging myself from the creator.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
not offering.
the thing is that I may think that something will happen and I will settle down here. Actually, nothing happens, because the mind stays ruminating over those issues. So even when I have secluded myself from others, thinking that first let me settle down, the moment the trigger is back, hey, you are enraged again. So what really did happen when you were secluded? You were really not secluded. I not you, mean all of us. When I'm using you, it doesn't mean you, because at the moment I seclude myself, the mind stays as it is. There is no radical shift in the mind. So I keep on ruminating about the same things again and again, and I feel that I have maybe ripened and this seclusion has given me anything. But most often, it does not really give you anything. Many a times it may happen that in that part of seclusion, we are able to come back home to ourselves. And then when we go out in the world, then the triggers are not triggers for us anymore. We stay still rooted. That may happen, but it does not happen that easy. It's a radical transformation that is needed. Yeah. And also when he says that you have estranged yourself from the creator, of whom you have sprung, I think whatever little creation we see around us, everything, living thing, non-living thing, that itself is the creator. Creator is not different from creation, just like a lump of clay. If I make things out of clay, now those things that I made may be different in forms and shapes, but they are one with clay. They are clay itself. So whatever we may see in manifestation, people, person, things, happening, situations, things, objects, non-living things, even creatures, animals, they are creator itself. So if I say that, let me go away from this and find the creator, this is stupidity. I think that's what he's hinting at. That's what religions do. That let me make voice to the creator, because the world I am living is not creator. And that's where we make the duality, make the separation and the division. While if I live in the world thinking that, knowing that the vessel which is made out of clay is clay itself, is the creator itself, then why do I need to run, and to where can I run when all that is happening is clay itself, the creator itself? And then I think then it gives me a lot of power to utilize my experience, whatever life experience I may be going through, utilize that experience to reach to my highest possible depths and heights. There's no need to then run away. If I'm going through jealousy, that itself becomes a path. Okay, what is jealousy trying to do to me? What happens when I'm jealous? How does it burn in the body? What it does to me? That itself becomes the path. So I think this is very life affirming. I believe it can also be taken in a life affirming manner, rather than life negating, that let me go away and find solace somewhere else.
Yes, and also that it addresses this thing of, like, even when life isn't somehow beautifully harmonious and some kind of image that I may hold of, like, okay, if I was truly living the yoga or living God's way, then there'd be great harmony and there would just be beautiful interactions with the human beings around me. It throws all that out the window, right? It's saying, yeah, and you're saying in what's coming out in the discussing of this, of that no matter what's happening, even all the times that it feels like it's not going well, or it's that isn't any harmony, that just right there, that's it. That's exactly what needs to be happening. It is all the creator, and it's an opportunity to stay with self, stay with God, stay the path.
Absolutely.
Even though, yeah, there can be a tendency to second guess myself or judge myself for the disharmony, or somehow a lack of flow. But actually, no, that's just to go through it, just to ride it out.
Yes. And whatever manifests, manifests for a reason. Mother says that, why do accidents happen? So mother says the accidents happen so that you can become more conscious. For example, I'm walking and I'm thinking, actually, when I'm walking, I'm just lost in the drama of my thoughts. So I slip. Now the slipping happens so that I can be conscious the next time I walk. So whatever disharmony happens so that I become conscious of movements happening in me, my own manipulations, my own expectations, demands, and agendas. The more conscious I become of them, the less I will be ruled by them. So that's very powerful then, that if accidents happen to make us more conscious, then if an accident has happened, well, thank you, for making me more aware of whatever I need to be doing. And regarding that disharmony aspect that you were sharing, that day I was sharing on some or the other WhatsApp group that mother shares that when Auroville was coming up, it started with a lot of fights. And even now, it's not that it's completely harmonious and everything is full of light and supramental consciousness, not like that. So before the true harmony comes, disharmony and fights and quarrels and this and that will take place. The path is not as smooth as it may appear to be in spiritual light, that all is beautiful and harmonious. We have to go through all these troubles and calamities on the way before a true harmony appears.
Yes, I can see that. And yeah, it's a solace to know that it's somehow meant to be that way, that because sometimes I think when I read some beautiful set of words, then it can become like, oh, it's supposed to always be like that beautiful set of words. Yet when a great being, Mother Sri Aurobindo Kabir, has written those words, they're in that consciousness, right? And our world is in this present state, and all of us in it aren't always in that, whatever you want to call it, higher state or that kind of consciousness. And yet then I go and judge it and go, well, it must all be wrong then. It's not all that beautiful, but actually it's to realize it's not supposed to always be like that. It's not always supposed to be in that harmony and beauty, because they were speaking from a level at which I'm not always operating, and neither are others.
Yes. So I think what they have shown us is they have shown us our higher possibilities. But where we are right now, that needs to be purified again and again, so that the higher possibilities can be achieved.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's very important to realize, to recognize where am I right now, not to be hypocritical, not to be dishonest about my present situation. So I do get swayed, I do get triggered. So that is my present reality. Although the higher possibility is that those triggers do not mean anything and are not able to sway me. That is my higher possibility. But to reach to that state, it requires a long and arduous purification process and lots of effort. Without effort, we are just a bundle of habits and patterns. When we talk of this way is effortless, we often talk of effortlessness. Just be yourself, effortless. If I now be myself and effortless, I'll be just a bundle of tendencies and patterns, nothing else. So I have to first undo those knots of patterns which rule me, so that I can be effortlessly myself. So to achieve that true effortlessness, I have to put a lot of effort. I think it's very paradoxical, but I think that's how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So let us reflect on these few lines, the next half of the poem. And then I think this is also very attractive, the one on the next page, but we'll take it after this poem. So if you place the Guru at a distance from you, starting from here, we'll reflect upon this.
Yeah, this seems to underscore what we were saying before again. And if you place the guru at a distance from you, then it is but the distance that you honor. And it's true. It's like that's where the focus goes. If it feels like I can't hear the mother, I can't hear God, then that very thought is creating that reality of, well, I can't hear, and that's this kind of, then it is but the distance that you honor. It's like honoring the distance. And if indeed the master be far away, then who is it else that is creating this world? And exactly, it's like that's where the ego can hijack, and think, oh, if I've lost, in my ego's case, or pattern will be, the ego pattern is to think, oh, I've done it wrong, I must be somehow very unconscious, or I've lost the plot a little bit in terms of the spiritual path. And then exactly, who is it else that is creating this world? It's like it becomes me, I, and feels very shaky. But actually, it's what we were saying before. The master is present at every moment. So even in the, I guess, bringing me back closer is part of that journey. It's like bringing myself, the same as the mother is always there to help. It's just about calling out and trusting that you're going to be back in her fold or feeling in her embrace. Yeah, and again, it seems like, what we believe becomes our reality, right? So if you think that he is not here, then you wander further and further away and seek him in vain with tears. It's like, absolutely. If I'm believing I've been forsaken or somehow left in whatever situation or challenge that I might be facing, then of course there's tears, because that's the reality. That's what that belief has created, the sense of great separation from the divine.
As if you're building a wall with the thoughts, that he's far away.
Yes.
As if a
Yeah.
bigger, thicker and thicker wall is being created. Yes. Please continue. I was just adding.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and where he's far off, he's unattainable. Where he's near, he's very bliss. I mean, absolutely. When there's a sense of peace or feeling well, sometimes I'll even take that for granted. Like recently having experiences where I was feeling very free and feeling very well and somehow just joyous. It was there, this awareness, like this is God, and an awareness, and I mean, this awareness of feeling well is God. And at the same time, I see how I can put him far away at the same time. It's so strange, rather than being an absolute deep gratitude that the joy and the freedom in that experience was absolutely due to the presence of the divine, or feeling connected to that. So it's interesting. So even in the good times or the challenges, if I'm somehow forgetting the divine, then it's like where he is far, he's unattainable. It feels like anytime I forget, then she become unattainable. And then if I'm aware of it, there's the bliss. It's more everlasting than that sense of wellness, than if I just think it's created by that experience. For example, since I like to do my sports and outdoor things, if I just think it's due to that experience that I feel well, rather than it's the divine behind that experience or in that experience that makes me feel well, that's the bliss.
And just adding on to what you're sharing, Swapna. So when there is an emotional fog or a mental fog which appears like a dark cloud, and I cannot sense that joy and peace within, like that simplicity within it, because of that wall of fog that appears, and who is actually making it real, that fog or emotional or mental disturbance? I am the one who is making it more and more real for myself. by focusing on the mental and emotional fog, by focusing and trying to find resolutions in the middle of that keychad, if I can say. It's actually keychad, it's like lots of unresolved dots connected here and there. And I'm giving it so much of importance that I'm making it like a brick wall coming between the peace that I can sense, the joy I can sense, the simplicity that can be there, stressing upon that unless this is resolved, I'll be away from peace. And the moment I stop to take that wall so seriously, the moment I say, okay, let it be unresolved, but I can still be peaceful within, I think immediately, for a moment at least, that dark cloud dissipates and you can have that peace, one can have that silence within the being in the midst of all unresolved thoughts. And that happened just by not giving that wall much attention. So where he is far off, there he is unattainable. So who is actually making it far off? Me, myself, by creating that thick wall of emotional and mental fog. Me and my story, wanting to resolve dots. And the moment I let go of the story, keep the story aside, I see that maybe I don't even need to resolve the dots in the story, because the peace and bliss is always here. The silence is always here. But if I give more fuel, more attention to the fog, I think we just aggravate it.
Yeah, and it's incredible how that's not a new piece of information, and yet there's so much left to be able to really live it out all the time.
Yeah.
Like recently I had absolute moments of just that very thing, as I traveled through a different land than home and doing different experiences, and part of it on my own, and just seeing like absolutely the key is that samatha, the centeredness, no matter what was happening, in order to be able to access a state of equilibrium.
Yeah.
And to then not second guess it, because it can seem like, well, how is it that I can just let, if a message or an email or some news comes that seems disharmonious or seems like there's a problem or whatever, and if I don't touch it, it can seem like almost like a crazy reality. Like, how is it that I can just like ignore that and just be in center? But that is the work.
Beautiful.
To continue doing it.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really powerful. What we were earlier talking also, that if I read something and an image or a disharmony comes to my mind after reading that thing, or a message or email or whatever, whatever may be going on, I just have to know that I cannot trust what is appearing in my mind, because that image is not an absolute image. I think that's,
yes.
Yeah.
So, and especially in our society and world, which so values intellect and thought and intelligence, and then my ego rides on that one, and thinks, well, logic and reason and intelligence operate through the thought. And so again, it's like, oh, if I don't listen to these thoughts, how am I going to find a solution, or how is a solution going to come to an issue, or a decision, even if it's a simple decision? And to really trust, I think that's the step in the evolution, to really trust that not to listen to the thoughts, and that the highest eventuality, the highest happening and decision is still going to come about due to the divine's power.
Yeah. And also, it's not, so the thoughts will continue to appear, because it's like a old habit set in momentum, which will take a long time to really come to a complete halt. So now if I read or see or meet a person, maybe read something, I form images in my head about that person or that particular situation. Now, can I just notice that, yes, there are images forming, there are stories forming in the head, and can I just keep them aside? Like, don't buy them completely. There may be some or little truth there, but it's not that that's all knowing thought that I have. So I think that has a lot of power, and it takes us somewhere from thoughts, finding resolution at the level of thoughts, to finding resolution in an openness to the unfolding of life. That, okay, I may have these thoughts, I may have these stories in the head, but I know that these are very partial and they don't have much authority. So let me see how it unfolds. And I think that also keeps us very, very light, not to give every thought too much of power.
Yeah, and like when you were saying that, my part of my thinking went to, well, then how would one know that this is the next step or this is the next thing to do? And it's like, it seems just to actually trust that emptiness, or simply allow life to unfold and happen.
Yeah.
Right, that it's time to do something. If a ticket needs to be bought, or if you have two doors in front of you, this door needs to be opened, or this door, it's like, okay, till the door is opened, it's not supposed to open. And then I don't even have to know which door to open. I'll just notice, I mean, I'm just using this as a metaphor, of course, but still, I will just notice the hand will reach for door A or door B, and that's the right one, because that door is being opened.
To add on, Swapna, who knows that in the unfolding of life, neither do you need to reach the door A, and neither do you need to reach the door B, because that's our linear thinking. Our linear thinking only sees door A and door B. But the way life unfolds, maybe both of the doors crash away and something new appears. That is also a possibility.
Yes.
But as long as I'm stuck in that horizontal, linearity, then I'm just stuck in these two possible options, which is door A and door B. How boring, kind of. But if I allow the adventure to unroll itself and kind of, unfold itself, I see that I don't even know whether door A, door B just totally disappear and something new appears.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what we're just saying, it seems to be in this line, right? Know yourself then, O Kabir, for he is in you from head to foot. And it's not just head to foot, this body, but it's like this door A, door B, or door C and D that you haven't even thought about or considered, right? It's like all of life.
Absolutely. Yes. And the last, it resonates with what Mother and Sri Aurobindo also say. Sing with gladness and keep your seat unmoved within your heart, the depths of your heart. Mother again and again points as, that if you can place your focus or attention in the depths of your, the center of your chest, go to the back, go to the depths of your heart, horizontal depths, and place your focus there. Be concentrated and ingathered there, because that is the seat of the psychic.
Yes. I can. Yeah, it's interesting that, yes, that does very much echo the yoga.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems like a big, or like a giant resolution, and like a, what can I call it? Almost like giving up something, but it isn't. It's like a dedication to do that. Right? Like, no matter what someone is saying about you, or a circumstance is, or anything, whatever one is faced with, to go, no, I'm going to just put my attention there. I'm going to put my attention to this place in my heart, and just focus on getting, like, if it feels like I'm not there, or there's some barriers in the way, then just keep doing it, and that's worth all my effort. As opposed to the attention going to what should I do, or door A, door B, something else, or any thoughts.
Beautiful.
Any thoughts or feelings, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. And I think, in the beginning, when we are getting away from our sweets and lollies, which we have been addicted to for a long time, it does appear like a sacrifice, because we don't even know what lies when we reach our true heart or the psychic. We have no idea. So it actually appears like a big deal. Oh my God, look what I have to give away, all our sweets and candies that we have been addicted to. But the thing is that even for once, if we get a taste of this unfolding of life, I think then slowly we also build a trust about it, that yes, this is the best way. And my sweets and candies were really poisoning me to death, and I don't really have to be addicted to them. So in the beginning, it may appear as a very big sacrifice, that what I have to give up in order to find my true being, or the true center to live from. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It does. And there's that, because it'll roll with, not am I going to lose the people and situations that are my sweets and lollies, as well as my kind of somehow insurance policy, right? It feels like there'll never be others or another insurance policy, right? Like it's like somehow you're going to be bereft of anything good
Yeah.
or any kind of divine to support you, despite the logic of knowing the divine is always going to be there. But to live it out, to just commit, like, okay, I'm going to go into that free fall of being willing to not depend on these sweets and lollies.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
That big leap of faith and
Yeah.
simply launching.
Yes, absolutely. I think that I don't know if you have read that play by the mother, The Ascent to Truth. Have you read it? There is a play.
Yes, quite a few years ago.
Yeah. So we once discussed it in Friday Study Circle, in the very beginning of the Friday Study Circle. And it was really beautiful, exactly the words that you used, that there is this last kind of two people who go to the edge of that journey, where all the rest of the people have been left. Somebody was stopped at this level, some other person stopped at the other level, but there were last two people who continued until the end. And then they reach this place where it appears like you just have to jump, you have to take this leap of faith. And now they don't have wings. Now I think what I can sparsely recollect from there is that, what if I jump, right now it is appearing like there is a mountain and there is like a huge cliff here, and below, if I jump, there is death. That's how it appears to be. Now, knowing that I cannot fully trust my senses, really, because whatever I see is very little, can I just make this leap of faith that if I jump, maybe I begin to fly? Maybe the whole view changes and it appears something totally different than what it is appearing right now. So I think that's where the thing comes, that here reason also has to be let go of, because reason can take us a little far. Logic and analytical reasoning can take us little far. It can regulate a little far. But in this area, when we reach this place where we have to actually make a leap of faith, here we cannot even take the logical mind with us. So that requires a kind of a big leap of faith, the word that you used, to allow the unfolding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let us, I think this is very beautiful. Let us last take up this one, 85, page number 85. I'll just make it a little bigger, maybe single page. Yeah, this one. Then we can end after this. Na main dharmi, nahi adharmi. I am neither pious nor ungodly. I live neither by law nor by sense. I am neither a speaker nor hearer. I am neither a servant nor master. I am neither bond nor free. I am neither detached nor attached. I am far from none. I am near to none. I shall go neither to hell nor to heaven. I do all works, yet I am apart from all works. Few comprehend my meaning. He who can comprehend it, he sits unmoved. Kabir seeks neither to establish nor to destroy. I think it's quite liberating just to even read it.
Yes, it left me kind of, like my mind going almost like blank.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even grasp, right? Because I think that's the space it takes you to, of like, oh, like it's almost like, and what exactly does this mean? Because it's yeah.
Yeah, I think
think
this kind of want of the mind to grasp something again and again. I think that's absolutely with you, that it left us neither you can hang on to this nor to here. So I think in that space you move beyond the mind. Mind always tries to hold on to either this or that. Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
it seems to point us type of, I guess, to the emptiness, the aspect when you often hear in spiritual mystical writings or poetry of just like the nothingness. Though often I'm left with, as in Mother and Sri Aurobindo's yoga, there isn't necessarily a stopping at the nothingness, right? Then there's the evolution of the being and the conscious collaboration with one's evolution. Yet this seems to speak to that, to the nothingness of not identifying as anything or one thing. And it's perhaps it's like the neti as well that you speak about, that it's not it's neither, it's not one extreme, it's not the other extreme, it's not the speaker, not the hearer, not the servant, not the master. And at the same time, there's also that, what I've read or heard of, like, we're everything. So we're nothing and we're everything. It's like that very interesting dichotomy of it all. It's somehow it's just that empty space, or the isness, perhaps, like I do all works yet I'm apart from all works. So it's simply somehow the emptiness in order to be the instrument.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful that it connects us with this kind of flow of life, that I need not get stuck at any level at all. Like this mother talks about progressing and moving forever on and on and on. I think I can completely relate with that aspect also here, that when I do not get stuck in any images, any thoughts, any conceived notions about my own self or life or other people, I think that really keeps me totally free and boundless to move always on and on and on. Just like the flow of life always goes on and on and on. So why do I need to limit myself and suffocate myself in either this or that limit? Am I spiritual, or maybe, not spiritual? How does it matter, really? What are these labels at all? Yeah. Takes us beyond all these labels.
And this line, few comprehend my meaning, he who can comprehend it, he sits unmoved. Somehow that line takes me to the last line of the other one, and from Mother and Sri Aurobindo, about the heart. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like he sits unmoved. What's the place in myself that is unmoved? And it's to be seated there, and that's the promise of it.
Swapna, this is very, very powerful. And let me just add on to this. The knowing with which I know a thought, the knowing with which I know a feeling, the knowing with which I know an ache or a body sensation, that knowing forever remains unmoved. I may be in deepest of my depressions, but something in me knows the darkness. Something in me knows the high of joy. I think that's what Rupert Spira, again and again kind of hits at. That can we identify and know ourselves as this knowing, rather than again and again limiting ourselves by the content of knowing, which is either a thought, an image, a sense perception, or a feeling. So just kind of wanted to connect that to what you were sharing.
Yes. With Rupert Spira, because of the word knowing, sometimes I go to, well, somehow that's mind. But it's the first time it's not the first time yet. I have a chance to now just look into that, to go, is his use of knowing the same as awareness in some other teachers or forms?
So what I could connect was that what he says of knowing or awareness in his words is actually resonating exactly with what mother talks about. Know yourself as this consciousness, which you can move. You can become aware of the thought, and then you can move it into feelings. Then you can move it into the body, become sense perceptions. Know yourself as this consciousness, or the knowing, or the awareness. So I could actually find many parallels between what Rupert's teachings and Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words.
Yes, it's that knowing, awareness, consciousness. It's that sense of spaciousness that comes with it, right? It's a spaciousness, an expansion. There's a quality of, yes, not needing to glom onto anything, right? Yeah.
And one can actually, if you really look at it, if you experiment, if we experiment it amongst our own selves individually, we will see that in one moment, identifying with a thought or my story in the head or feeling, I can be really pained and in suffering. In very next moment, if I know myself as the consciousness which is aware of the thought, aware of the feeling, aware of the senses, and know myself as this spacious consciousness, the suffering cannot exist in that moment. So all that we have to do is we have to shift as if the focus of identification, because owing to the old pattern or old habit of doing it, we again and again identify ourselves with either a thought or a story in the head or a feeling or an image or sense perception. All that I have to do is to know myself as this knowing or consciousness. And it immediately shifts.
Yes, and I'm getting in this moment then also in that space, there aren't any Velcro hooks of if someone is criticizing or saying something unpleasant, there aren't any Velcro hooks for that to stick. There's nothing in myself that has to believe it or can even believe it, because there's nothing, it just falls away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I think there one can be unmoved. Knowing oneself as consciousness, knowing oneself as the knowing, there the unmoving can be sensed. That you are not focusing on the content of
yes,
consciousness.
and that's right. I'd never really seen how, even if there's suffering due to someone criticizing or giving negative feedback or something like that, that's content.
Yeah.
Like it seems so real in the moment that it just that this, I'm seeing myself through their criticism, through their eyes, therefore I feel bad about myself. All that is content. All that is content.
Exactly.
And actually it's beyond that. It's about standing somewhere where there's absolutely no ability, or the best one I've got is Velcro. There's no Velcro hooks for something to stick. It's just
beautiful. I think it's a beautiful metaphor. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Anything from you, Gaurav? Any reflection from you on this?
Hi, Monica. I just joined in. I'm just taking it all in. Thanks.
Okay.
Very nice discussion happening here.
Yeah.
And Monica, I also see this Kabir seeks neither to establish nor to destroy. It's also pointing to what we're calling right now in this discussion, knowing, the awareness, because it's neither seeking to establish self nor to destroy self.
Beautiful.
Right? So it's It's like a beingness
Yeah, beingness. Yes. Yes.
and blankness
And again, that blankness, which is absolute pregnant with potentialities,
yes.
that kind of a blankness. Yeah.
Yeah, without a need for something else. That's what I'm
Yeah.
touching into.
Yes.
It's like, oh, there isn't, yeah, desire doesn't have a place here. There isn't, I need, I want, I should, he shouldn't. There's none of that. Also from the Byron Katie work, right? It's like the place
Absolutely.
without story.
Bilkul, bilkul. Exactly going there. Byron Katie's, yes, yes. A place without a story. Yes. And I think that would be really correlating right here very aptly, that when Byron Katie says, who are you without the story? Exactly that space is where, the knowing is enough by itself, and it has really nothing much to do with the content of the knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she also talks about then there's often just this presence of love, which
Yeah.
allows one to love oneself, the other, the circumstances, without any need to change it or something in return, right? It's just
Absolutely.
because the love is experienced as a spaciousness
Yeah.
without a condition.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
And love
And it's
is,
not,
yeah, please.
I was going to say, and love isn't even in the way that even though like mentally, logically, I know it's not Hollywood, Bollywood love. Anyway, that's not the real thing. Something more spacious. Yet even it's beyond that. It's beyond any kind of expectation of it. It's not, you can even not call it love. It's
Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
an allowing, almost
Allowing. Yeah.
Or her, if we use the Byron Katie analogy again, like when she says loving what is.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
simply allowing things to be, is just loving what is just letting things be
Beautiful.
just as they are, right?
Beautiful. Yes. 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 Beautiful. In that sense, when we talk about a space, for example, there is this room and there is space in the room. Now, this space, one can actually use the terminology that it's a loving space. Why? Because it allows the furniture or the things or the people to be there. And it also allows them to leave the space whenever they want to. So there is a beautiful kind of a vast embrace of things. And this embrace is a non-possessive embrace, that it allows things to be if they want to. And if they want to leave the space, it also allows that. But knowing that wherever I go, wherever those things move, all that is there is the space. So even if I go out of this room, I'm still in the space. So it's so vast, this consciousness, knowing, or this space that we were talking about. It's so vast that one can actually call it the God's being. The only beingness that is there is the God's being. And all is happening within that being. There is nothing outside of that God's being. I think Rupert also talks about paralleling knowing or awareness or consciousness, paralleling it to God's infinite being. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what's so interesting about that also is that it's not like some kind of bliss or joy or any kind of preconceived idea that I had about it. It is, at times we've spoken about it just being nothingness.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's so undramatic.
Yeah.
That it's just that. It's just, yeah, it's beyond any preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
Or preconceptions. And that's going back, that's drawing full circle, because we started discussing this poem with, it's talking about somehow this nothingness, right? But nothingness can be a sense of something being devoid, or empty in a negative way. But actually it's coming full circle to say God's being, and being in God's being, and everything being that,
yeah,
is, it's very mundane. in some sense, right? But it's beautiful in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we are so used to the dramas of our life that when it comes to this neutrality, it actually appears in the beginning very bland and non-consequential, one can say. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going through this poem and what you said, Monica, I just reminded of this book I read, Code Name God, which is written by Mani Bhaumik, wherein he's talking about God's particle, cosmic, that we are all stardust. So maybe this poem resonates in that sense. Kabir is considering himself as a stardust, and he neither seeks to establish nor to destroy. He shall neither go to hell nor to heaven and every other thing. So it takes me there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, Monica, one last piece, since we brought in Rupert and Byron Katie and everything, I've also, when I've been with Katie, I've heard her say so many times, like, people think peace is somehow boring, or like being without your story, peace is boring. And she says, it's so exciting. And it's so interesting, right? It's like, again, it's like Kabir here, it's nothing, it's everything. It's mundane, it's boring, it's not, it's exciting. It just contains absolutely all of it. And it's just accustoming myself to that isn't, that if I just have the patience to go through what seems mundane and boring, there is this so exciting that Katie talks about. It's just it's like a bubbling up.
Yes. I think today only I was talking to someone at this, and it actually was just the same thing as we are talking at right now, that whenever for example, if I'm addicted to spicy and oily food, and it has really ruined my health. Now my taste buds and the whole being is addicted to that kind of taste, the drama of that taste, the intensity of that taste. Now, if somebody tells me to move to boiled vegetables, in the beginning, it is going to kill me, it is going to appear torturous to me, because it's just that I'm used to a lot of intensity, drama and oil and, all that. But the moment I feel the lightness in the body, I feel the beauty in the body coming out of that boiled food that I take, the raw food or the boiled food that I take. I think once you get the taste, as you were saying, getting accustomed to that, then it actually becomes beautiful. It has the ability to become beautiful and not at all boring. It's only that the bad habits take a little while to drop off. So in the beginning, it may appear as insipid or bland, but it's not so. It's just an appearance. Yeah. Great. So
yes, it's like choosing health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, mentally, like what we're speaking about is like at a mental, spiritual, energetic level, just like with the food.
Yeah.
Like just choosing health for oneself in a holistic way. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks.
Great. So I think maybe we can end it here in that case. So thank you for joining, and Swapna, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. Reflection.
Thanks a lot, Monica. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaurav. Bye-bye.
Bye, Monica.
Bye.